What's up? How's it going, guys? All right. So I know it's been a few weeks that we've been back doing this again, but I just want to let you know, because I didn't get to talk to all of you, I really missed you guys during quarantine. That was probably one of the worst things, was not getting to see you guys. It was just one of the many disappointments that occurred during that time. Another one is also that we don't get to go to camp, which is a big bummer. I really enjoy Discovery Camp. I'm kind of upset that we didn't get to go. Discovery Camp holds a really special place in my heart. I just really miss Smiley Sauce. That's about it. I really miss Smiley Sauce. You know, you get that chicken tender, and then you dip it in that sauce, and it is so good. Who has had Smiley Sauce in here? Okay, so those who haven't, you need to go to camp next year and get some Smiley Sauce. It is amazing. But I kind of have a complicated relationship with Smiley Sauce and their chicken tenders over there, because it's both one of the greatest things that has ever happened to me, and it's also one of the kind of most traumatic experiences that I've had because of that thing. It was between my junior and senior year of high school, Discovery Camp, and it was awesome. It was a great experience all week. And then Thursday came. And if you don't know what Thursday night is like at Discovery Camp, it's awesome. It is the best service of the week. God does some awesome things in everyone's lives, and it is so much fun. And I decided to really kick it off with a bang. I really decided to make it something really special. I decided to have Smileys right before service, which is great. You know, delicious. I'm sitting through service. I listen to the message. It's awesome. And then they start doing all the altar stuff. And I start feeling some rumblies coming. And and I'm sure it's the bass at first, and it's just the bass going on in the room, and it's just pumping, and it's awesome. And then those rumblies start getting stronger and stronger. And then at this point, I'm pretty sure it's the Holy Spirit. Like, it has to be the Holy Spirit moving in me. Like, he's doing a work. And then it kind of starts moving down some, the rumblies. It kind of starts moving until it gets to my intestines. And I know it's not the Spirit moving anymore. It's the Smileys moving. And it is terrible. And I'm standing there all throughout service. I can't sit. If I sit, it's not going to go well. So I'm standing throughout service, and I'm trying to worship, and I'm trying to get into it. Beads of sweat are coming down. And instead of just going to the restroom like I knew I should have all along, I decided I wanted to stay there in the moment, in the presence of God, because I didn't want to miss anything, but I ended up missing everything because I could not enjoy it with all that Smileys moving through my digestive tract. It was terrible. So as soon as they dismissed service, I waddled all the way back to the dorm so I could use the restroom. And I've been told I should probably not tell the rest of the story. If you want to hear the rest, it's honestly the most entertaining part, but I'll spare you the details this time. I ran out of toilet paper, long story short, and I got creative. But I ended up missing out on so many great things. I could not focus on Jesus because of what I decided to put in. I put in some not so great things. But, it's okay. We all love junk food. I love junk food. I love Smileys. It's the best form of junk food. And who loves some junk food in here? Yeah. Some of my favorite junk food is, I like some really weird combinations. And let's see if I can find it. I really like to go to the movie theater and have some Mountain Dew at the movie theater, but it doesn't stop at the Mountain Dew. It can't stop at the Mountain Dew, because that's not even the best part. And the best part is this. I love some Bunch of Crunch and Mountain Dew at the movie theater. It's disgusting. I know, soda and chocolate. It's just too much. It's too powerful a combination. But that's just one thing that I really love. Another thing that I really love is chocolate. I'll just use this one. I love chocolate, but here's the problem. I'm allergic to chocolate. Chocolate doesn't do good things to me. Whenever people ask me what chocolate does to me, I just describe it in 3 words: slip and slide. That's it. That's what chocolate does to me. And something else I love Taco Bell. I'm like immune to it. It doesn't do anything to me anymore. I just really like Taco Bell. And even with my sensitive stomach, it's good. But one of my favorite things from the recesses of my memory, from all the way back in middle school, is something that has gone extinct, and that is the KFC Double Down. It's chicken, cheese, bacon, cheese, fried chicken, no buns. The chicken are the buns. It is amazing. I loved it. But it was just, they actually removed it from their menu because of how destructive it was to people's lives. Like, it was destroying people's lives. This thing is not supposed to go in you. Don't put this in you, all right? But junk food is amazing. And if you haven't figured it out yet, we're going to be talking about junk food tonight. We're going to be talking about some junk food. And I don't usually like to give titles out loud while I'm speaking to my messages. I usually kind of keep them on paper. But if you're taking notes and you want a title, it's Junk Food, the Sin We Consume. And the only reason I'm telling you is because I was really proud of it. It was really creative. But some of you aren't even feeling convicted about the sin part in that title. You're just feeling convicted about the junk food part. And rightfully so. I hear your stomach growling, Ashton, back there. No, I'm kidding. So what we put in matters. It determines whether we drift, like PJ was talking about last week, or whether we stay close to Jesus. What we puts in matters. It can even determine the direction of our lives. It is important to focus, to keep an eye on what we put in. And I really like this idea of junk food being paralleled with sin because they're similar in some ways. Because how many times have you had a can of Pringles? And who likes some Pringles in here? Pringles are good. Yeah. And it just starts with one chip. You just eat that one chip, and it's delicious. And then you eat another one. And then you decide you're going to have a few stacks of them at the same time, and you want to do that duckbill thing that you do. You put them in your mouth, and it's great. And pretty soon, you've just had the entire can. And it's just obnoxious. And I'm going to try not to, oh, wow, that made a bigger mess than I thought. I'm going to try not to step on those. I have to clean it, so it's fine. You end up having the whole thing. And sin is very much so like that. And eventually, if you stick with junk food long enough, that saltiness, you get addicted to it and you want more. It doesn't just stop at one can. The next day, you're going to want another can of Pringles. And it is delicious, and it becomes a habit. Junk food can become a habit for you, the same way that sin can become a habit. In fact, in the Bible, it even says in John 8:34, "Very truly I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin." That sounds like a habit, doesn't it? It sounds worse than a habit. It's like a forced habit. But you become a slave to it. Habit is putting it nicely. And tonight I want to talk about one small habit that just about all of us in this room probably have. One small habit. And some of you are not going to like me after this. And I'm sorry, it's just how it is. But it's going to be good. So what we consume is important because, and I'm going to show you right now, it is important because of this. Luke 6:45. A good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his what? In his heart. And an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his what? In his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. It's important what we consume because what you put in, it goes to your heart and it gets stored up there. And it determines whether you are this good man or woman or this evil man or woman. It is important to focus on what we put in, to really give it some attention. Your heart is important and you need to keep junk out of it. Without a good heart, you're never going to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve. You aren't going to. You look at these high-profile stories of these people, these big CEOs who do things that they shouldn't to women, and these people in positions of authority that abuse their authority. That stems from a bad heart. Their heart is stored up with bad things that shouldn't be in there. So what do we do about that? Well, Solomon tells us in Proverbs 4:23, above all else, guard your hearts, for it is the wellspring of life. And I like that. We need to guard our heart above all else. The way you protect something that's dear to you, you need to guard your heart even more than that. It's above all else. And I like this image of a wellspring of life. It's like a river. And if the top of the river, the wellspring, gets polluted, then the rest of the river is polluted too. It's important. And who likes some Pringles in here? Who wants some Pringles? Anyone want some Pringles? All right. Oh, but hang on. I need to do something for you here first. I'm going to make it extra yummy. I'm going to make it really appealing to you. So, I've got a blender here, and you haven't tried this Pringle combination. It's like my Mountain Dew one with the Bunch of Crunch, and it is delicious. It's something else. And, and I really like some junk food, and I just start kind of building up start putting some stuff in there. Junk food is good. Maybe it's a little bit of that, a little bit of this, some mustard. Why wouldn't it go good? Like you have hot mustard on your hot dog, and then you have chips with it when you go to a cookout, don't you? So it's fine. It's totally fine. And whipped cream's good. You can never go wrong with whipped cream, can you? So we'll toss some whipped cream in there. And you know what? Oh, I thought these were Cheetos. Cheeto Puffs. Who prefers the Puffs? Because they're pretty great. So, you start tossing some stuff in there, and you know what? I really said the Mountain Dew's great. I hope this thing doesn't explode. It rolled off, didn't it? Whew. All right, there we go. That'll just make it mix good, all right? It'll mix real well in there. And then, voila. All right, yummy. All right, so these beautiful Pringles. All right, so bon appetit. Yes. All right. Do you still want it, Fally? You still want it? No, exactly. You wouldn't want it because it's been polluted. The wellspring has been polluted. And why is that? Where does that stem from? It comes from here. Proverbs 4:25, Solomon goes on. Let your eyes look straight ahead. Fix your gaze directly before you. Your eyes are important. They're extremely important. I don't want to step on that. They are extremely important, and that pollution begins through your eyes. Your eyes are powerful. Some of you have a future you want, right? You have something you want to do in your future. You want to go to a certain school. You want to work a certain job. You want to get married someday, maybe even have some kids. You already have the names picked out, and that's awesome. But it begins with your habit going in that direction. If you want to go to a great school, it starts now. You start making a habit of doing well in school. If you want to get real swole, you want to get real strong, it starts now with the habit of not eating junk food. And with, oh wow, I made a mess, I just realized that. And with working out, you're not just sitting around all day. And that's because I believe that habits create the condition of your heart. It starts in the heart. And many have a habit of consuming junk food all day. So what do we consume a whole ton of? We consume a whole ton of media, don't we? Whether it be social media or Netflix or video games or music, there's all sorts of media for us to consume. In fact, I read this statistic, and I want to get it right here. The average person consumes 12 hours and 9 minutes of media per day. How does that math work out? It's because it counts as 2 hours if you're on your phone and watching TV at the same time. That's nuts. That is a whole ton of media. It's almost like media is our primary source of input. That's where we're getting all of our information, everything from. So that means that the media you consume matters. It's important what you put in, and it can lead you to sin or away from it. And I remember the first time that this really impacted me, this idea of the importance of media, was when my dad gave me my first real phone that could use the internet and that you could surf the web and stuff. It was I can't remember if it was a Sony Xperia or a Sony Ericsson, but you could flip the phone and then you could play PS1 games on it. And it was super cool, but I was super embarrassed about it because I didn't want anyone to think I was a nerd. I would play Crash Bandicoot on it all the time. But anyways, I remember because when he gave it to me, he said this. He said that if I can trust you with this, then I can trust you with much more later. And he was referring to my habits on that phone, what I was doing it, whether I was using it for good things or for bad things. And I realized that that media is incredibly important, and my dad wouldn't say that if it wasn't something that mattered. So I became extremely hyper aware of the media that I was consuming. So what you consume shapes and changes your heart. If all you do is put junk food in, all you're going to get is junk food out. That makes sense, yes? Even biologically, if all you do is put that in, you're gonna get it out. Dylan's really feeling that apparently. If all you do is lay around at home all day and you eat junk food, you're never gonna get in shape. It's never gonna happen. You're not doing the things that help you to get into good shape. No one wakes up one day and they go, you know what I want to do? I think when I'm older, I want to get a divorce. No one does that. And that begins with the habits that you form now. And here, I'll kind of explain this a little more. It's 56% of divorce cases involve one party doing something with their eyes, consuming something that they shouldn't be. They're consuming pornography. And divorce rates double when people watch it. That's what statistics have shown us. And I'll tell you why. It's because it teaches that one body isn't enough, that you need more than just that. And it begins to change people's hearts. And then they get married, and you know what they start to feel? That one body isn't enough. And just from that one little thing, just from what they looked at with their eyes, it destroyed an entire marriage. We look at the story of David and Bathsheba. David, he killed Goliath. He was a great king for many years. And he was where he should not have been. He was supposed to be leading his soldiers on the front line. Instead, he was back at the palace chilling, and he was looking out, and then he saw this beautiful woman bathing on the rooftops, and then it became this whole mess. He slept with her, and he found out she was married. He got her husband killed, and it was this huge mess for David. And it was just because of he wasn't doing what he was supposed to. He wasn't where he was supposed to be, and he was looking at things that he was not supposed to be looking at, things that were not for David. So this goes beyond just pornography, though. Any form of bad media has the potential to corrupt the heart. So what do we do about this? What can we do about this? We need to stop consuming junk food. Stop consuming junk food. Bad media will lead you to temptation, and temptation, of course, can lead to sin. And here's the thing with sin that I have found in my own life, and that I'm sure many of you have also found, and that's that sin. You don't just kind of, oh geez, this tape is not doing it for me. Here we go. All right. Oh geez, it's willy wonking itself. I don't know if that's a verb. I don't know what I'm saying. All right. So tape. This tape. Sin is kind of like a tape line, and that's that if you don't just flirt with it, you don't just toe it, you don't just kind of get a little taste of it. You've either sinned or you haven't. You're in or you're out. And a lot of us, we're just looking at our phone all day, and we're inching our way towards it because our hearts are becoming corrupted by these things that we shouldn't be looking at. And eventually, we've just wandered into this sin line, and we don't even realize how we got there. We start blaming all sorts of other things. And a lot of the times, I believe it can be prevented with just what we put in that is corrupting our hearts. If something even tempts you, it needs to be out of your life. It needs to be something you don't even play with. The Bible tells us to flee from sin. We shouldn't even get near it. If you listen to music, sad music all the time, you know what you're going to feel? You're going to feel sad, of course. If you listen to music that all it talks about is sex, you know what you're going to end up wanting? Sex, of course, because it's being normalized in your life. And if you normalize what you consume, if that thing becomes a normal thing that you're putting in your life, you're going to normalize it in your everyday life. It's going to become a normal thing. So here's the second thing. We need to stop supporting junk food. And this is kind of a weird one. We need to stop being okay with sinful behavior when we see it in our media. We need to just stop being okay with it, because too often we just let it slide, whether it's a famous TikToker or it's someone with a blue check mark next to their name, or let's be real, most of the time it's our friends. We go, oh, she just dropped 20 F-bombs in that post. Oh, it's okay. She looks so cute in that. I'm going to like that. We need to stop that. It doesn't matter who's doing it. We just need to stop being okay with sinful behavior, because this is what you're doing. You're feeding the cycle of junk food. You are feeding the cycle of junk food. Every like, every view, every follow, it equals your support. And it gives a platform to sin. And we don't want to normalize sin. We want to get far away from that. Just like that line, stay away from it. Because once you've crossed it, you've crossed it. So here's the third thing. We need to stop posting junk food. And this one makes me incredibly uncomfortable to talk about, because it ended up being very timely because it's the summer. But this is what it's the equivalent of. Oh, I'm not going to use that. I was going to use the Pringles. But this is what it's the equivalent of. You're just force-feeding people your junk food. That's what you're doing. You're just forcing it down their stomach. I don't even have it anymore. I didn't mean to get it in my mouth. Ugh, that was nasty. I don't even like Cheetos. You're just force-feeding it into other people's face. Do I have Cheeto dust all over my face? I probably do. I can feel it. Just ignore it. But we need to, because here's the problem with it. You are being a stumbling block to other believers. We need to not be stumbling blocks to other believers. We need to help one another. We need to be supporting one another and keeping one another from being stumbling blocks. And on top of that, it cripples our witness. I get so sick of scrolling through Instagram, and all of a sudden I see bikini, 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 tankini, bikini, 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 and I'm sitting there deciding, do I just skip it real quick, or do I unfollow them, or do I mute them? And that's because I don't want it to start stirring up lustful things in my heart and hurting my heart and corrupting it. And it's just incredibly uncomfortable to have to make that decision over people that I love and that I see regularly and that I see at church worshiping. And I just sit there and I think, I thought they were farther along in Christ than this, that I wouldn't have to feel this way, but I guess not. They just need to grow more in their relationship. And if I feel that way, imagine what your friends at school feel when they see that, whether they see Jesus or not in what you post. And it goes beyond just that. That was just one example. That was one silly example. But it goes to like language and all sorts of things. But don't ruin your image just chasing likes like that. Everyone wants to be an influencer, and I have Cheeto dust all over my shirt. Everyone wants to be an influencer, but the greatest influence you will ever have are on the people around you and not the people on your social media platform. So I've kind of skirted around specifically saying what is wrong and what is right that you can consume, whether it's rated R movies or whatever it is on Netflix. So you're probably wondering, what is and isn't okay? And I have that Cheeto taste in my mouth. What is and isn't okay? And this is kind of what I've developed for myself. This is my personal philosophy on this. If it promotes sinful behavior, causes me to stumble, causes others to stumble, then it's not for me. I don't mess with it at all. And another way, And another way of saying this is probably, would I consume this if Jesus were here in the room with me? An even more awkward way of saying this is, would I consume this if PJ was in the room looking at my phone going, I don't think that's right. Would you do it? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't consider it okay. It's hard, I know. I want to be part of the conversations being spurred online and the different shows being watched. I've had to unfollow so many people that I love and know personally because of this. I've even deleted Twitter. A long time ago, I decided to delete Twitter because for the longest time, it was just naked photo after naked photo of women, and I just wasn't okay with it. And there are things that I just won't watch, and it can be hard. I get it. I know. You want to participate. You want to be involved with these things. But my heart is more important than insignificant moments of fitting in or of pleasure. You need to guard your heart. That might mean that we have to delete some apps off of our phone. It stinks, but it's just a reality of it. Guarding our heart. We might need to stop watching a TV show in the middle of the season, and you're never going to know what happens. Maybe you can just Wikipedia it, but it's not worth sacrificing your heart over it. Maybe you need to unfollow some people. Maybe you need to get an accountability partner to help you not look at things that you shouldn't be looking at. But our hearts are important. Everything flows from it. It's a wellspring, like we saw with that poor Pringles can. It begins with habits that we form. And there's few things that I can think of that are as entrenched in our lives than media right now. And we need to start getting a vision for what our future wants to look like. For me, I want to have a Christian spouse, and I want to raise Christian kids, and I want us to all serve in a church together. But the first thing I need to do is I need to start forming my habits around that so that someday I can reach that point in my life, and that'll be a strong and healthy marriage, and that we can be in the church serving together. And it begins even with my social media habits. And if this is something that's really difficult for you, and you're struggling with this idea, or you feel convicted by it and you feel like you have some yuck in you, then here we go. David, after he sinned with Bathsheba, he asked God to create in me a clean heart, oh God. Let this be your prayer. Create in me a clean heart, oh God. So we're going to end real quick with some prayer. And if you're feeling like this is speaking to you, like you need to make a change in your media habits, this is what I want you to do. I want you to first start with this prayer. Create in me a clean heart, oh God. And then I want you to find someone that you trust, and I want you to tell them the change that you're making, and maybe even ask them to keep you accountable. If you don't have anyone that can do that in your life that you're comfortable with, you can even DM me and tell me the change you want to make, and I want to help support you in that. Make a change. Where's your heart at? What needs to change? Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for this time we get to be here together. I just pray that you would help to create a clean heart in us, Father, and that we would just be people that guard our hearts, that you would give us the wisdom and the courage to make a change in our media habits where changes need to be made. We love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.